Welcome Day 52. Today, we're diving into some intriguing laws and practices from the book of Leviticus, specifically chapters 24 and 25. There's so much to unpack in these chapters, from sacred rituals to concepts of redemption and justice. Let's start with the instructions about the lamps in chapter 24. It's interesting how there's a focus on maintaining the light continuously. Why do you think this emphasis on perpetual light was so important?
It's fascinating, right? The lamp was to burn continually before the Lord, symbolizing his presence and holiness. It's like an ever-burning reminder of God's constant vigilance and care for his people. In a way, this light was the only constant in a place where the people needed guidance and a tangible sense of God's presence. What's even more interesting is that it's specifically pure olive oil beaten, which seems to symbolize purity and sacrifice in the offering. The idea of a constant, unending light must have been powerful for the people back then.
Exactly. And then there's the bread, the 12 loaves laid out in 2 rows with frankincense placed on them as a memorial offering. Every Sabbath, this bread was to be arranged before the Lord. It's not just about food or ritual, but about honoring a divine covenant. But here's a question for you. What do you think the symbolism is behind using 12 loaves, one for each tribe of Israel?
The 12 loaves definitely seem to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. It's a way of showing that every tribe is equally important and present before God. The bread being placed on a pure gold table is also significant, highlighting the sacredness of the offering. The frankincense, too, isn't just for aroma. It signifies the prayers of the people ascending to God. I think it's beautiful how these elements are tied together to create something holy and unifying. But what about the man who blasphemes God's name? That punishment seems pretty severe, being stoned to death for such a thing. How do you think this speaks to the importance of respecting God's name?
Yeah, the punishment is harsh, but it emphasizes the sanctity of God's name and the seriousness of blasphemy. It's one of those things that might seem extreme from our perspective today, but back then, the name of God wasn't just a title. It was an embodiment of his authority and power. To blaspheme, it was to directly challenge that divine authority. This punishment was probably seen as necessary to maintain reverence and order in the community. What's striking is that it doesn't matter if you're a native Israelite or a foreigner. The law is the same for all. It really shows the importance of consistency and justice.
True, it's all about maintaining purity within the community and ensuring that the people understand their relationship with God. The foreigner and the native-born being held to the same standard suggests that God's laws were meant to be universal, not just for one group of people. But moving on to chapter 25, we get into the laws of the land and the year of Jubilee. The idea of the land keeping a Sabbath rest every 7th year is quite unique. What do you think was the purpose behind this law?
I think the purpose behind the land resting was to ensure that the land itself, like the people, was kept in a state of renewal. It's almost like a natural way of restoring balance to the environment. Not only did it allow the land to rest, but it also created an opportunity for the people to trust in God's provision. If you couldn't harvest in the 7th year, how would you eat? Well, God promises that he would provide enough in the 6th year to last through that year and the next. It's a beautiful concept of trust and dependence on God's timing.
Exactly. It's like this divine rhythm of work and rest, not just for people, but for the entire ecosystem. It reminds me of how even in our modern world, there are discussions about sustainability and giving the earth a break from constant production. And then the year of Jubilee, every 50th year, where people return to their original land. This must have been a huge deal, especially when people were losing their property due to debt. What's your take on this whole idea of resetting everything every 50 years?
I think the year of Jubilee is one of the most radical ideas in these laws. Imagine a society where every 50 years, all debts were forgiven, and people were given a fresh start. It was like a societal reset button. People who had fallen into poverty and had to sell land, or even themselves into servitude, could return to their families and land. It was a way to ensure that no one stayed trapped in poverty or slavery forever, that everyone had a chance at freedom and renewal. It's almost like an ancient form of social justice.
That's a great way to put it, social justice. And it's not just about helping people in need, but also reminding everyone that the land ultimately belongs to God, not to human ownership. It's almost like a safeguard against greed and the accumulation of wealth in the hands of just a few. But here's something I find interesting. The whole idea of redemption, especially when it comes to property. If someone sold land, they had the option of redeeming it, and if they couldn't, it was returned in the year of Jubilee. Do you think this speaks to a deeper principle about the concept of ownership?
Absolutely. It reinforces the idea that everything ultimately belongs to God. Even if you sell your land, it's not truly lost forever. It's a form of stewardship, not ownership. I think it's a reminder that wealth and land aren't things to cling to tightly because they're not permanent. The year of Jubilee serves as a reminder that everyone is part of a bigger picture, a cycle that connects all of Israel, whether rich or poor. And speaking of redemption, there's also the idea of redeeming a relative who sold themselves into servitude. I find it powerful how the community was responsible for helping one another out of these difficult situations.
That's another beautiful principle. The fact that family could come together to redeem a relative shows the importance of community and support within Israel. It wasn't just an individual responsibility, the whole family, and even extended kin, had a role in restoring someone who had fallen into hardship. It's really about lifting each other up. It makes me think about how important it is to have systems in place that look out for those who fall on hard times, even today. The principle of redemption is something that could still teach us a lot.
Yeah, for sure. The emphasis on family and community is still relevant. Imagine if we had more of that sense of shared responsibility today. People wouldn't be left to struggle alone, and there would be more opportunities for second chances. So, before we wrap up, let's reflect on one final thing. What do you think the overall message of these two chapters is when you put them together?
I think the message is clear. God's laws are designed to create a just and compassionate society where everyone, regardless of their status, is treated with fairness and dignity. There's a deep emphasis on trust in God to provide, trust in each other as a community, and trust in the divine system of justice. Whether it's through the light that never goes out, the land that rests, or the year of Jubilee, it's all about renewal, forgiveness, and justice. It's a blueprint for a society that seeks to honor God and care for one another.
I couldn't agree more. There's a deep sense of balance in these laws between justice and mercy, rest and work, ownership and stewardship. And ultimately, it points to the idea that everything, from land to people, belongs to God. It's a beautiful vision for living together in harmony with one another and with the earth. Well, that's all for today's episode. We hope this gave you some food for thought. Until next time.
Take care, everyone. God bless.